Hello and welcome on Watches TV, and today we're going to talk about the three main new timepieces introduced by Vacheron Constantin, all featuring retrograde date display. And as you know, as well, we managed to go to their manufacturer just a few days before this show to make it a little bit more comfortable for all of us. Not only are we going to talk about those new pieces, but also come back a little bit on the history of retrograde display for the brand. Let's go.
So this year for Watches and Wonders, we are introducing no less than 3 novelties, which are all bearing retrograde calendars, meaning 31 days retrograde calendars. So the first timepiece is the Patriota Day and Date retrograding. This year we are introducing this brand new version, which is combining a platinum case with a salmon colored dial. So it's an alloy which is based on brass. So this is galvanoplasty and with some additional treatments to get these very special colors. We have, I would say, a sunburst finish on the background of the dial, which is so sophisticated because it doesn't shine that much, but depending how the light is catching the surface of the dial, you really see the sunburst.
And in terms of mechanics, what do we have?
So we have our in-house caliber 2460 R31 R7, so self-winding movement, plus retrograding indications for the date, and also retrograding function for the days of the week. So it's a double retrograde system that we have in this timepiece, 42.5mm diameter. Talking about the second timepiece, this is the traditional tourbillon retrograde open face. We have one grand complication in the traditional lineup. So this is the 41mm diameter case in rose gold. So in order to showcase the beauty and the complexity and the great finishing of this retrograde function, we decided to really open or to cut the dial in order to reveal all the complexity of the mechanism. So this is why we have a very sophisticated dial, which is made of several parts. The upper part of the dial, which is made of white gold, and there is a thin part which is surrounding the case. And on this upper part, we have the indication of the indexes and the 31 days retrograde calendar. And in terms of finishing, the white gold is finished with a hand guilloche pattern. Then we have a sapphire crystal, which is set on this main dial. And this sapphire crystal is also bearing the minute track for the tourbillon, which is another part in metal, which is set on the sapphire crystal. And last but not least, on the sapphire crystal, we have as well some of the indexes which are set in the sapphire crystal. So this is a kind of expression in the traditional lineup that we started to make in 2019 with the twin beat. And we love this combination, which is really mixing the great tradition of Vacheron Constantin in terms of design, but as well the modernity of the technical solutions and the finishings. We have an automatic tourbillon movement, so 2160, which particularity is really, I think, it's a peripheral rotor. You can really see through the cage of the tourbillon. It's never hidden by the winding rotor when it's rotating. So we have obviously the 31 days retrograde mechanism, which has been added on. However, our engineers, since the beginning, the concept of the base movement, the automatic tourbillon, they thought about evolutions of the caliber, such as this one. And this is why we could reduce the total thickness of the movement of close to 1 millimeter compared with the classic design on which you had the complication. And last but not least, as well in the movement, so the tourbillon cage has been lifted a bit in order to be visible at the, I would say, on the lower part of the dial. And of course, it's a joy to admire because you can really see all the very sophisticated handmade finishings. This dark gray color is really, I think, contrasting extremely well with the classic design and also with the tone of the rose gold that we have on the case. We have decided to launch this year within the overseas lineup this novelty, which is the overseas retrograde date and moon phases. So it's quite I would say, unusual to see such complications in a sport elegant timepiece. But as we know, we have seen in the last years more and more, let's say, classic watchmaking complications which are entering the sport elegant segment of watches. The timepiece will be available in steel, obviously on steel bracelet, the overseas bracelet. Plus, we have, of course, our self-interchangeable system for bracelets. So we are delivering 3 bracelets for each timepiece, namely the steel one, the rubber one, and the leather one. And we have, obviously, the blue signature dial of overseas, which in this version is particularly exceptional, I would say. Really a fantastic dial. And to talk a bit about the movement, so we have our in-house 2460 caliber. Which has also a 31 days retrograde calendar on the upper part of the dial. And on the lower part, we have a precision moon phase indication, meaning that we have an astronomical moon phase, which doesn't need any adjustments in the next 122 years. So this is not a limited edition. Of course, it's a limited production, but not limited edition.
Let's maybe go back a little bit in history and what is the importance of retrograde display in Vacheron Constantin patrimony?
So if we turn our eyes to the past, so we see that the very first retrograde displays appeared at Vacheron Constantin during the 1920s, very much influenced by Art Deco, beautiful Art Deco desk clocks. And we will have to wait until the 30s before seeing a 31 days retrograde calendar in a wristwatch, minute repeater, 31 days retrograde calendar, and crown at 12 o'clock in a barrel shape design. So that timepiece was a bespoke order and became quite famous. This is the nickname Don Pancho, which was offered at auction by Philips in 2019. So gradually, I would say, retrograde display almost disappeared from our watches, but we came back during the 90s to this very special type of display with the Mercator timepiece, so a double retrograde, hours and minutes retrograde. Then later with the Saltarello, mixing a jumping hour and the retrograde minutes. And the very first wristwatch of I would say modern Vacheron Constantin era, with a 31 days calendar with retrograde function on the upper part of the dial. Since 2007, this is part of the Patrimony collection, and it really becomes a technical signature of Vacheron Constantin because retrograde calendars or retrograde functions are more sophisticated and more delicate to assemble and to set than the usual dragging systems in subdials. And also mentioning as well the fact that you get a much better readability on the watch face as well.
Very true. Well, thank you for all these information and see you soon, I hope.
Thank you very much, with great pleasure. Thanks a lot.